Are you looking for some more cuteness for your Christmas decor? Well, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I have for you 5 of the most stinkingest cute gingerbread DIYs I can't wait to share with you. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very end and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So grab your favorite beverage, maybe even a gingerbread cookie, and let's get crafting. Here's a quick sneak peek into all of today's projects. I am so in love with these. I honestly had a tough time picking a favorite this week, and that brings us to project number 1. Look at this gingerbread truck. So we're going to start out with this little Merry Christmas truck that I found at Dollar Tree. It's been in my stash for a while, and I finally decided this was the use for it. So we're going to take out the staples out of the back, and we are going to sand off all that glitter. And then I just took a nice little baby wipe and wiped off all the little sanding dust. And we are going to come in. Now this color is Honey Brown by Decor Americana, and we are going to cover the entire thing. And it took 2 coats on the base of the truck and the tree, but those wheels took a few more coats, so just be prepared. And once the truck and the tree were all covered and dry, then we're going to grab this bottle of Tulip Puffy Paint, and we are just going to go to town putting on our little gingerbread icing decor. Sometimes I like to use a picture to get some inspiration for this. Sometimes I just kind of wing it. In this case, I was just kind of winging it, trying to figure out what was going to be real cute on this tree. And I got some of the puffy paint on, and then I went and grabbed some of these little faux sprinkles and my little detail glue bottle. And I am just picking out a few of those little pieces. And the way I put them on is I dabbed a dab of glue, and then there's enough glue on the tip of the bottle to grab the little tiny pieces. And I found that to be really easy to get these pieces on. So just a little pro tip, if you were. Once I got all the little pieces onto the tree that I wanted, trying not to mess it up. As you can see, I did mess up that little piece, and easy breezy, just come in with a little wet paintbrush and take it off and then put it back on again. So once I got through this little part of the tree, then we are going to get to detailing the truck. But I thought the truck wheels would be really cute with some snowflakes. So I'm going to grab snowflakes from the little container that you can get at Hobby Lobby. And they are all, of course, 50% off right now. And I painted those white, and we're going to stick those in as the center of our wheels. And I'm just gluing them on with some of that wood glue by Super Glue that you can buy at Dollar Tree. Now you have to be careful with these little snowflakes. They are very fragile, and I did break off a little piece a couple of times. No worries, it just glues right back into place. And then I'm using a couple of the little faux chocolate pieces from my faux sprinkles there and putting those on in the center of my snowflakes. And then we're just going to continue decorating with some of this Tulip Puff paint in the big bottle. Now, I'm just going to have to tell you, I am not the best at doing this. I don't know why I just can't seem to control it very well, and it ends up looking a little messy. But, you know, isn't that what gingerbread is all about, the homemade look? So we are going to say that it is just perfectly imperfect. And the good thing about using this puffy paint is that it doesn't actually dry super quick, and so it's kind of forgiving and allows you to make a mistake, as I'm going to do right here. Wipe it off, and I just added a little touch-up paint and went back to using the puffy paint. So you are, able to just try something out, and if you don't like it, erase it essentially and try again. I left a little bit of room over on the left-hand side where you could go in and either add gingerbread delivery or gingerbread express or, whatever words you wanted to. I also love the addition of the little faux candy pieces, and I added a hanger back onto the back so it could be hung up, or you could add this into a gingerbread wreath. I think that would be so sweet too. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you. I appreciate that we are getting to spend time together today. If you're one of my regular subscribers, and y'all know who you are, you know how much I love you. Welcome back. And if you are new or newer here, I would love to be friends with you too. So click that subscribe button and ring the bell below so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Give today's video a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, comment down below, give it a hype, and let's get back to crafting. That brings us into project number 2. I love the way this turned out. So we are going to start with a 1-inch block, a 1.5-inch block, and a 1 3/4, or maybe it's a 2-inch block. I got all of these at the Dollar Tree, and so hopefully you can find them too. Now I added some puffy paint into one of my little detail paint bottles or glue bottles, whatever you want to use them for. And we're going to set that aside for decorating. And then I took some of this small ribbon, and I am going to wrap the boxes in ribbon to look as if they are presents. So I'm just measuring off. Now I want you to know I had to go in and cut these down because I glued the ribbon all the way around, and then it left it kind of wobbly when I glued all the blocks together. So make sure that you leave room and don't cut your pieces too long, but I will show you how I went back in and trimmed those down. So once we've gotten all the pieces kind of sized out, I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue and glue those around. Now I'm going to make sure that each of the 3 pieces, since they're going to be stacked, the ribbons line up. So when you get ready to put on the ribbon on the other 2 pieces, and here's what I'm talking about, see how I overlap those on the bottom. So we're gonna fix that in a little bit. But anyway, make sure that your ribbon, just like I was doing right there, lines up so that when you put your boxes down, all the ribbons line up in a row. And then here's where I'm going to go in and just kind of trim those off and pull that up so we only have 1 layer of ribbon on that box and we don't have 2. So I actually had to go in and trim down the other side as well. So do it how I did it the second time and not how I did it the first time. Then we're going to go ahead and glue these all together, and here I'm going to fix this one as well. That way you could see when I set that on top, it was kind of wobbly back and forth, and we definitely don't want our presents wobbling back and forth. All right, let's go ahead and get these glued together. And again, I'm making sure that those ribbons are just in the right spot so that everything lines up all the way around. Love that look. All right, now we're going to come in with our detail bottle. And as I said when I did the truck, sometimes I use picture inspiration, and sometimes I just wing it. And so we're going to wing it again and just add on a little bit of decoration. Now I'm going to do one side, and then the other sides will look exactly the same as the one side. here it is all completed. I love the way this turned out. I've been thinking about maybe adding a little bow on top, but here it is. And full disclosure, I only painted 2 sides because that's all that's going to be showing. Here we are at project number 3. I am loving this little gingerbread tree. So these little rectangles come in a package of 6 at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take 4 of them, mark the center of the top one, and then draw a straight line from that center line all the way down to the corner on both sides. Normally, this would be something that I would grab my miter box and saw and cut out. But unfortunately, because of the angle of the pieces, that wasn't going to work out. So I did take it into my garage and used my scroll saw. Now I'm going to take this painter's stick and I am going to make a measurement around the center of this large tumbling tower block and cut out a little groove, and that's where my paint stir stick will go, and that's what holds it all together. Now I painted the paint stir stick, the top and the third piece in that honey brown, and then painted the other 2 pieces 4 snowflakes, and the base piece in white, and the white is a Waverly color. And then I'm going to grab some little gingerbread men. I started with those wood pieces from the Dollar Tree, but for this smaller one I felt like they were just a little bit too large. So I'm going to take 2 of these little gingerbread buttons that I bought from Hobby Lobby, and I am going to place those on, and then I'll bring those larger gingerbread out for the bottom piece. Now with this snowflake on the top, I'm going to take some of this white rickrack, and I am going to do rickrack around both sides of the snowflake. And then for the snowflakes on the third piece, we'll do the same with the rickrack. There's my little gingerbread, guys. Now we're going to do it. It actually comes out 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 1 piece, 1 snowflake on the top, 2 gingerbread on the next, 3 snowflakes, and then 4 gingerbread. So I painted the gingerbread that honey brown, and we're coming in with our detail paint bottle and some of that puffy paint, and we are drawing on gingerbread faces and the little arm pieces and buttons. And then we're going to go ahead and start gluing some of this down. Now on the white pieces, I'm coming in with that little snowflake ribbon. I found that at an estate sale, I believe, but I'm sure you can find something similar at one of your craft stores or Walmart, and have something super cute to go on that, or even maybe Dollar Tree or one of the other dollar stores has something. All right, we're also going to be using our faux candy pieces again on this, so look out for those. And then we're going to start assembly of our tree. Now, as you saw when I did the rickrack, for the ribbon, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it on in place. And I'm just using that wood glue by Super Glue. You can use whatever craft glue. I just didn't want the lumpy of using a hot glue there. And then I am just cutting it off right there at the edge to get a clean edge onto this little tree piece. And we'll do the same for the top piece. And I just left a little bit of room so that the gingerbread would look evenly spaced on this little, we'll call it a branch of our tree. And then we'll go ahead and get those little gingerbread glued right on there. I think that looks so cute. Then we're going to come in with our snowflakes and we will get those glued down. Now be careful again with these snowflakes. As I said earlier, they are very fragile. These are the ones that come in the little box of 9 different snowflakes that you can get from Hobby Lobby. But they're very fragile, and so they're easy to fall apart, especially those little very fragile ends. But they do glue together pretty well, so no worries about that. And then we're going to come back in with rickrack on this piece as well. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I had to do a little touch-up paint in there because I actually glued down the wrong ribbon to start with and had to go back in, rip it off, and then glue in the right ribbon. errors happen in crafting, and it's not the mistakes that you make, but it's the way that you come out on the other side, you know, whether you fix it or whether you just kind of rethink it. And now we're going to go back in and trim those little rickrack pieces off. And I didn't show you gluing on the bottom piece, but it's all essentially the same. And now we're going to come in and using that wood glue by Super Glue, we are going to get all of our tree branches in there glued up. One of the things I love about using this is the hold is really good, but it does give you a little bit of time. There's a little bit of forgiveness in there, unlike hot glue, which is why I went in with this instead of hot glue, because you are able to kind of reset. So I want to get all my pieces on there first, and then, you know, go back in with my little L square and just make sure that everything is all lined up and even, and then make sure that I have the proper space in between all of my little branches. And then we're going to come in with a little puffy paint on the top, and I love to put the puffy paint on and then tap it down so that it kind of gets those little run bubbles. And then we are going to put in some glue into that space. And I guess I did not use those faux candies after all. But here it is, all complete. I love this, the way it turned out. I just think it is so stinking cute. And I love the gingerbread and the red and the white. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'm going to say this is it. So we're starting with a large bead. And as you can see there, I filled in that large hole with some hot glue. And I'm going to come in and add a little bit more hot glue in a minute. And then that large bead is going to be the head. Then we're going to use 4 beads for the feet and the hands. Those are going to be kind of like I want to say they're 1/2 inch maybe. The tiny beads are going to be in between, and then a slightly larger bead than the feet beads is going to be, you know, for the arms and the legs part. All right, so we are going to paint 2 round circles, 4 foot and hand beads, our body bead and our head bead in that honey brown. We're going to paint the tiny little tiny beads in the white, and then the medium beads in the red. All right, so I am going to be assembling a leg here, and I put the baker's twine onto the bottom bead, and that's going to be kind of our anchor. That's going to be his foot in this case. And then I'm using this little doll needle, but you know, it's too thick to go through that white bead with both strands of string on it. And you can see I'm just kind of trying to line everything up so we get a straight foot. And so you've got a red bead, a white bead, another red bead, and then another white bead. And you know, I tried to do it without having to attach it to this doll needle, but that did not work so well. It does work fine to just string the baker's twine through the gingerbread colored beads and the red beads, just not for those little white beads. I even tried putting some glue on the end of it, and that wasn't working. All right, so we've got our 2 leg pieces. So the leg pieces are comprised of the foot bead, 2 of the medium beads, and then 2 of the little beads, and we're going to glue that right here onto this little circle, making sure that you leave enough room on the bottom for the legs to dangle there. And then once that's all set in place, we're going to grab our body bead, which is one of those square beads. They come in a package of 3 at the Dollar Tree. And we're going to glue those together. Now we are going to add our little arm beads, and the arm beads consist of that 1 hand bead, and then a white bead, a red bead, and another white bead. And then we're going to glue those on top of the body with some hot glue, again leaving them some room to dangle, and then add some more hot glue and the nice little circle on top, kind of a sandwich in between. And then in between that little sandwich, we're going to add a little bit more baker's twine and just make a little shoestring bow as kind of like a little bow tie for our little gingerbread person here. once we have his little bow looking just the way we want it, and I get a little fussy with this, pick, pull, trim, whatever, finally get it looking like I want it, and then I decide he needs some little candy buttons, and so I'm going to go back into this little faux candy package. Now, I bought mine on Temu, but I will link something below, along with these little detail glue brushes that you can get on Amazon really quickly. But I am just going to glue on him some little candy buttons, and then we are going to start on the face. So I just grab my markers, and I am going to start with the nose, and then we're going to come in with some black and draw on a little mouth and some eyeballs. Now, I was trying to go for a little teardrop shape. They came out more, I think, ovally egg-shaped looking. But anyway, then we're going to come in with some little white, and we are going to give him some detail down at the bottom of his eyeballs. Now, it did take a couple of coats of this to be as white as I wanted it. And while that dried, I'm going to add in a little navy blue just above that to give some more definition to his eyeballs. And then once I've gotten that done, I'm going to add in a couple little highlights above the blue. And then we are going to come in with a white paint marker and give some highlights to his little nose, some, I think it's this ballerina slipper pink by Waverly for his little cheeks. And then we're going to add some puff paint onto the top of his head and just tap, tap, tap that until it is looking just the way you want it to look. Dab of glue onto his head. And here he is, all nice and complete. I probably wouldn't have on purpose let that puff paint get over his eyeball, but I think it turned out so cute. And here we are with our final project number 5. So my husband liked a little lantern scene I did and bought me another lantern, and so I thought this would be perfect to make a gingerbread lantern. So I'm going to take all the pieces off and get the candles out and take the lid apart. Now, the lid took me a minute to kind of figure it out, and then I went in with my scrapers and held the the little clip apart, and then used my screwdriver and unsnapped it. And once I got one unsnapped, the rest of it came unsnapped pretty easy. Then I'm going to take out the glass pieces. Now, I do believe he bought this at Dollar Tree. It was in their $5 section when they had a $5 section. And I spray painted it with that Krylon, and that color is brown boots that you can buy at Hobby Lobby. It was like $5.99 for this spray can. And then those little candy canes that we used last week, we are just going to use our miter shears and cut those down. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have cut one side shorter and the next side longer so that there was an overlap with the candy canes, but I did not. I did not on the top, and I did not on the bottom. So I'm going to go in and I'll show you how I fix that in a minute. So we're going to grab some puffy paint, and oops, it kind of gets a little, when it gets an air bubble in there, sometimes you squeeze and it goes everywhere. But we're going to draw a straight line just along the top of this, and then you guessed it, I am going to do the tap, tap, tap method and let it kind of drip along that edge. I think that looks so cool. And I do go back in and add some puffy paint. You'll see a couple of different times when either my finger hit it before it was dry because I was too big a hurry to let it dry before I moved on to the next step, or I just didn't get enough in the spots that I wanted. But all right, and then that piece just ran a little bit long. So in the areas that we didn't get the drip that I was looking for, I do just come back in and add a little bit of drip myself. So I think that looks cool. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you do the tap tap method with your puffy paint? Let me know in the comments below. All right, now I have these little faux candies from Hobby Lobby. They're in the miniature tree section, and we are going to use these on the top because I scraped a piece of that paint off the top, and again, in hindsight, I probably should have gone in and gave it a rough up with some sandpaper before I added on that spray paint. Since we are spraying directly onto plastic, I think that would have given it a better hold. You can also go back in and spray it with some sealant before you start decorating, and that'll probably help that paint hold too. But I did none of those things because I was in a hurry. And so I clipped off the little hanging edges off of these candies, and we're just going to add some hot glue and glue those around the top, and I think that looks so cool. All right, once we get those glued down, then we are going to glue in our candy cane pieces along the bottom and along the top edge of this lantern. All right, now that we've got all our candy cane pieces in, we're going to come back in with some more of that puffy paint, and we are going to add some decor pieces onto the sides. And then I thought it would look really sweet with some decor into the center little pieces. Now, some lanterns are different and they have, um, different center pieces, and so you can kind of decorate that any which way you want. But I guess I'll come back in with that in a minute. We're going to let that set and dry, and now we're going to come back in with our puffy paint in the detail bottle, and we are going to add some design to the top of our lantern. Now I did go all the way around with that design, and then we're going to come back in with our detail glue bottle and some more of our little faux candy pieces, and I am going to just add those in between all the little details. And I just took different candy pieces in between, let's try that again, in between each little circle, and that kind of gave it some really cool detail, I thought. And then we'll repeat that pattern all the way around. I did not use any of the faux sprinkle pieces though, the little candy sprinkles. Anyway, so here I'm coming in and adding some little decorative dots onto the lantern with that detail bottle, and I just think that adds that final touch. All right, we are going to use 2 different sizes of this little ribbon to make little tiny shoestring bows, and those are going to go at our corners where those candy cane pieces don't quite come together. Just adding those on there, and I think that is just the sweetest little final look to this lantern. What do you guys think? What would you have put on the corners? Did you like the ribbons, or would you rather have just gone all the way around so that there wasn't a corner piece showing, and do 2 longer pieces and 2 shorter pieces on those edges? Let me know in the comments below what you would have done here. All right, for full disclosure, I did let all that puffy paint dry before we went in and did this, and it usually dries within a couple of hours. I did give it overnight. Now we're going to reassemble our lantern, and you could see that piece wasn't going in that direction because I didn't pay attention until I was reassembling. But these particular glass pieces were wider at the top and narrower at the bottom, and so they only fit in one direction. And then we're just going to snap this top back onto place. We are going to screw our candle back into the bottom, and then that is all there is to putting this back together, and all there is to this project. I love the way this turned out. Now, in past years, I haven't really been a gingerbread fan, but last year I did a gingerbread video and had so much fun. I thought I would bring you back another one. Now here it is, all complete. I love the way it turned out. I love all the little candy pieces and the faux icing with the puffy paint, and I just think it looks super cute. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you do gingerbread, or do you stick with just the snowmen, or do you have a particular decor style you like? Here's a final look at all 5 of today's projects. Again, I just love them all so much. It was so hard for me to pick a favorite, but I do like the gingerbread man the best, I think. He will be the one that I keep out of this collection of gingerbread this week. The tree would probably be my second favorite. I love the way that turned out as well. But anyway, if you would leave me a comment below which one or ones were your favorites, or which one or ones you would like to try to recreate, I would love to hear your comments. And if you do create any of these, or anything else for that matter, I'd love to see y'all's creations. Please email me at happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. And I'd love to see emails of some projects that you guys have done. I get inspiration from you as well. And I do answer all of my email, and I also respond to all of my comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really had a good time. I hope you did too. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. We are gonna grab all those summer shells you collected, and we're gonna make some adorable Christmas DIYs. But until then, make it a great day, and Happy Tuesday!